Hey there! Today I'm going to show you how to make these really cute and easy DIY paper fan rosettes. There's a full supply list linked below this video in the video description. You're going to need basically cardstock, a Cricut machine, Cricut scoring wheel, or Cricut stylus, and you'll also need a glue gun. I'm going to show you how to do all of the setup in Design Space first to make sure you get your rosette pieces cut out correctly before we actually assemble it. Hey there! So this is the first part of our paper rosette tutorial, and I need to show you what to do to set this up in Design Space so that it cuts and scores properly for you. So I've just opened up a fresh canvas here in Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to upload my file. You can find a couple of these rosettes for free on the blog, and I also have some other options in the shop as well. So I'm going to click Upload Image, browse my computer, and I'm going to click on my Rosette SVG and bring that in. I've got numerous different styles here. I'm just bringing this in all as one file. You can upload yours individually, but I'm just bringing all these in so you can see them all at once. Now, I just brought this in, and sometimes this happens with custom SVGs where Cricut will actually show that it is present here in the layers panel, but we can see the position of it here is like way down on -14 on the x-axis. So if this ever happens to you where you can't see your image, it just means it's really far down on the canvas. Just change that to 0 and hit enter, and it'll jump right up for you. So if you happen to experience that, just put that 0 in that position box there and it'll fix it for you. So here I have several different rosette styles here to fold into these paper rosette fans, and they're pretty much all set and ready to go except for one part, and that is our score lines. All of these black lines that you see on top of these, right now Cricut is saying that they are cut lines over here in the layers panel, and that's just how Cricut imports everything. It defaults everything to a cut line. And if you want it to be different, then you need to make sure you're changing that cut line type. So the first thing we need to do is ungroup these because they're all grouped together. So at the top of my layers panel, I'm just going to hit ungroup. And let's just take this pink one here, for example. We can see here I have the base pink, and then I also have these lines. I'm just going to move them over for a second here so you can see that they are separate. They are lines. Let me undo that, put it back where it was. What you want to do is you just want to select the lines only. You'll see that it's black, so you'll know you have the line selected. Go up to line type next to that black swatch and go down to score. Now, whether you have the Cricut Maker or the Cricut Explorer, you can score with your machine. If you have the Maker, you will use the scoring wheel with the quick swap housing. If you have the Cricut Explorer, you will use the scoring stylus in the pen clamp. So you can do either. And the last step here is going to be to select those score lines and that pink rosette template and use our attach tool in the bottom of the layers panel. So I'm just going to click that, and that's just going to ensure that our score lines stay exactly where we need them to stay when we go to the cut screen. So let me just change the rest of these here. I'm going to change these to score, and then I'm going to highlight and attach. Change these to score, highlight and attach, and you of course don't have to cut all these out at once. I'm just sort of going over this so you can see that it works for all of these, and it's pretty easy once you see it done a couple times. Changed all those to score lines, and I've attached all those score lines to my rosettes. And of course you'll want to scale these to whatever size you want. I've done them all different sizes, so if you want them to be large, then I would suggest scaling, you know, these up all the way to fill a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, or a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, a cardstock if you're using 12 by 12 or 8.5 by 11. That will make probably about a 16 to 18-inch rosette if you go that big. Maybe a little bit bigger if you're going for the 12 by 12, it might go as big as 24 inches. If you're wanting smaller, then I would put, you know, a couple of these per page, or maybe even 3 or 4 per page if you're wanting them to be really small. I did one that is about probably 7 inches or so, and that was like 4 to a page. So let's see here. If I were to duplicate these, I could just sort of create a set of 4 and kind kind of get them close together there to maximize my paper. And then I could select all of them and just look at my dimensions here. It says it's 5.1 by 4.2. So let's say I was using an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. I could just bring that up until it hits 11 inches along the top margin. Or close to. You don't want to be right at 11 inches, but close to it, like, oops, sorry about that. I would say like, 10.8 or 10.7, something like that. So I'm just going to leave mine right there. And then you could attach this as well so that those don't move around on you when you go to the cut screen. So then you could lay an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock on your mat with the 11-inch side going along the top and the 8.5 inch side going this way. Now, I realized here that my height is now over 8.5 inches, so we actually do need to shrink this a little bit. Otherwise, it won't fit on the 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So I'm just going to bring that down to so it's a little under 8.5 inches high there. That'll now fit perfectly on an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, and that'll probably make between a 7 and 8 inch rosette once it's finished. That would be a smaller size one. Like I said before, if you want to go bigger, then just do one of these per page. And you'll need between 6 and 8 of these square cutouts with these score lines to make one rosette. So I would need, for example, if I was making this, I would need 2 sheets of this cut to make one rosette. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that in Design Space so you know how to attach your score lines. And you can see now if we go to our cut screen and we click the Make It button, I'm gonna come down here, this one, we could lay that 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock onto our mat with the 11-inch side going along the top. We have all of our score lines connected, and it will cut that out properly, and it will score it first, then it will cut it out, and Cricut will prompt you each step of the way to insert your scoring wheel and then insert your fine point blade to cut. So that's what you need to do in the back end work in order to make sure this is set up properly. And then I'm going to show you how to assemble these rosettes together. Okay, so I'm using 2 blades for this. I'm using my scoring wheel, which is tip number 1 with the quick swap housing for the Cricut Maker. And I'm also using my fine point blade. Cricut is going to prompt me to put in my scoring wheel first into clamp B. If you are not using the Maker and you're using the Explorer, you can use the scoring stylus in clamp A as well. So you just have to purchase the stylus as opposed to the scoring wheel. I'm just loading my paper here. And then I'm going to press that flashing Cricut button when it tells me to go, and it'll start with scoring first. Once the scoring is done, do not unload your mat, just remove the scoring wheel or the stylus and place your fine point blade into clamp B and hit that go button again, and then it will cut out your rosette design around those score lines that it put onto that paper for you. So now we're going to assemble this rosette after we get everything cut out, and you can make these small, medium, large. This would be an example of a rather large one, and I like to kind of layer them like I just did there, and I'm going to show you sort of a medium version. I have between 6 and 8 cuts of the rosette pieces that have been scored and cut by my machine. Once they are all cut out, I'm going to start folding them back and forth like a paper fan, and those score lines make it super easy and convenient to just fold and crease, because that paper's already been scored and you don't have to worry about, folding incorrectly or one side being too long or too short. Just follow those score lines and it'll be super easy and it should go pretty quick for you. So I'm doing this for 2 different colors here because I'm going to make sort of a layered one. You don't have to do layers. You can just do one single rosette fan if you want. But if you want to give it a little more depth or personality or different colors, then it can be fun to make 2 rosettes that layer on top of each other, and you might want to mix up the colors like I'm doing here. So I'm just going to do this and repeat with all of my pieces here, and I got them all folded. And now I'm going to start gluing them together. And just pick one of the sides and add some hot glue to one side, and then place another piece on top of that glue. And try and make sure you're aligning it as best you can. You'll just want to look at the top and the bottom and make sure it's aligned, and then sort of kind of press it together, getting those creases, you know, all nice and folded and creased really well there. You're going to just repeat this now all the way around with all of these pieces. Like I said, between 6 and 8 of these pieces to make a rosette comfortably. You'll be able to easily tell if you need to add more pieces because the rosette won't close effortlessly for you. So if you're having a hard time getting it to close, which you'll see what I mean by that in a minute, then you may need to add more pieces. So I'm just going to continue gluing these together piece by piece on the side, and then we're going to connect it to create that fan look. And I'm also going to show you how to finish the center off. Alright, so I'm going to connect this rosette as a whole now. You see I kind of built up 2 longer pieces, and now I'm going to add some glue and connect those 2 larger pieces together. Give it a good pinch, try to make sure it's as aligned as possible. And this is where the magic happens, and you're going to fold it to meet the other side, and it's going to create that fan circle. So add some glue to the last open side and then connect the other end to it. Hot glue is the best thing to use here because it grabs quickly and you don't have to worry about it sliding around on you. You could use liquid glue, but I do recommend using hot glue. So here is our rosette, and you could leave it like this. However, I do like to finish the center off, and I usually will just cut about a 3 to 4 inch circle out on my Cricut machine. So they have circles in the shapes panel there that are free in Cricut Design Space, so you can just cut out a circle that fits your rosette best. In some of the templates I also have some additional circles that sort of have more designs to them that you can sort of dress up the center even more. So that is one rosette right there, and then like I said, if you want to layer these together and create a slightly smaller one for the top of a larger rosette and sort of create a layered rosette look, then you can do that as well. So I'm just going to create a slightly smaller one here in pink, and I also used a different rosette template for this pink one just to kind of vary the style that I'm using as the top piece. And I'm just going to repeat the same thing, stacking all of these rosette cutouts together to create that spiral fan rosette that I'm going to put back together here in just a second. I'm just finishing off this pink one now. You can see that these are very easy to make, very beginner friendly. They definitely go pretty quick if you're needing some fun handmade party decorations in a pinch. They're definitely a good option for that as well. So I have the pink one done here, and I'm just going to pull that around so that it fans out and close that open center off. And then of course you'll want to add a circle to the top of this one as well, just to kind of reinforce it, finish it off, make it look a little bit neater and more finished. So I'm just adding some glue to another circle here. It's about a 3-inch circle, and I'm placing that on top of the pink. So you can hang these by themselves, or you can stack them on top of each other. You could even add paper flowers, some small paper flowers to the center. You'll see that in my imagery in a minute. You could add a decorative center here, like I'm showing you right now, and I have some of these with the templates. So lots of different options to dress it up even further according to your preference. And I go over all the supplies, all the details in that blog post that's linked below this video. So if you want to know how to get some of these templates in my shop and some freebies, where to find some of my paper flowers and how I make them, be sure to visit my blog that is linked below this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this really fun tutorial. I definitely enjoyed teaching it and making these. See y'all next time.